Hey guys, there's not really an intro for this video because this is the recording session after my last spooky reaction video. Look, I just can't get enough of Snarled, bro. I can't believe I was blessed with this channel. Alright, I'm joking, but yo, this is like the best one so far. This is like Alter, Crypt TV, and Snarled. They're the only three that I really want to keep up with. And Snarled, I'm gonna be honest, she got most of the good ones. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, the first one here is called Indian Horror Story. We already know who it's uploaded by. This whole video is just going to be Snarled. Y'all probably think I got a crush on a girl or something, bro. No. The video is just good.
Hi audience, it's your Auntie Sapphire. If you want to listen to the extended version of this episode, the link is in the description below.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary?
Oh my god, bro, that's so good. I'm sorry. Put my seat up.
Our first chapter is inspired by true events that happened to Gaurav from India. This happened when I was about 11 years old and lived with my 17-year-old sister Manika and my grandmother. I was sitting at the table eating dinner with my grandma when Manika quickly rushed inside. "You're home late," Grandma commented, but Manika didn't respond. Grandma called over to her to join us for dinner, but she just walked right past us and straight to her room.
What's wrong with you?
"Teenagers. So moody," Grandma said. I was pretty close to my sister. We weren't that far apart.
That was my sister. I have to check on her. But I ain't gonna lie, she probably just gonna brush me off. Why do y'all do that?
In age, and we could usually talk about anything. She did have a tendency to be moody, but I could feel that something was different about tonight. So after dinner, I gently knocked on her door and asked if everything was okay. "I just need to be alone right now." I shrugged and headed to my own room, followed by our family dog.
Her boyfriend
Snoopy.
probably broke up with her or
I
something.
laid in bed, but was having a hard time falling asleep. I felt really anxious and restless for some reason. I didn't understand why. Hours went by, and I had given up on trying to fall asleep.
Bro, I literally hate that. Like, you should be sitting in bed. It don't matter if you turn everything off, all the lights are off, and you try to close your eyes. You just can't go to sleep. I don't know if I have insomnia, but yo, it's really hard to go to sleep.
Decided to take Snoopy out for a 3 a.m. walk. The neighborhood was quiet and calm.
Why are you going out at
Snoopy
3
was
a.m.?
happily sniffing around.
How old are you?
Then I heard a rustling from a bush a couple meters in front of us. From the bushes emerged what looked like a mangy black dog. There were a lot of strays in this part of town, so I wasn't too surprised.
Don't look like no dog. Hold on. What dog? Okay, I can see if the like, yo, but what, like, yo, I would be able to tell that this is a person. Look at the feet or her hands. Those are her hands. What kind of dog are you looking at?
So I wasn't too surprised and continued forward. But Snoopy wasn't moving. I looked down and was shocked to see him low on the ground, sneering. "It's just a dog, Snoop," I said as I yanked on his leash. But Snoopy was not budging. His sneering turned into growling.
What?
I looked back towards the stray dog and watched as the dark figure stood up, reaching its full height. That was no dog. At this point,
He should, like, oh my god, bro. Obviously, there wasn't no dog. I don't know how old this kid is, but he's kind of stupid.
Snoopy was barking wildly at the creature. I pulled his leash and ran in the opposite direction. I could hear the booming footsteps of that
thing
chasing
is
after us.
big.
Why don't you play with me?
It asked tauntingly. I refused to turn around or speak to it. My grandmother was a very spiritual person, and she had always told me to never engage with a spirit that's trying to get your attention. That's how you invite them into your life.
What's going on in India?
Snoopy following closely by my side. Luckily, my neighborhood had a lot of temples, almost one every 200 meters. I ran towards one of them and slammed the door shut behind me.
Yeah.
I waited.
How far was he from his
And
house?
listened. The footsteps outside slowed down and came to a halt. I'll come back for you. I fell to the ground and caught my breath. Snoopy and I stayed there until the sun rose. When we got back to our house, my grandmother and sister were already at the dining room table eating breakfast. I saw something last night. It was this thing, it was chasing us. I was struggling to find the words to describe what I saw, but even then, my grandmother knew what it was.
She not gonna ask you
You didn't
why
talk
you
to
was
it, did you?
outside?
No, of course not. But Grandma, what was that? It was most likely a chalava. It means illusionist or a shapeshifter. They're created when an unborn child dies and the respected ceremonies aren't performed. And since the child's spirit couldn't take a good earthly form, they inhabit whatever form they can. Usually, a malicious one. Manica covered her mouth. This seemed to really be upsetting her.
What does
Where
gotta
did you see the chalava? Grandma asked.
what this gotta do with his sister? I guess her boyfriend just broke up with her.
Out by that field where the stray dogs usually are. Ah, that makes sense. There used to be a hospital over there. It was shut down when they discovered that a doctor was performing unauthorized abortions. Manica burst into tears. What's wrong, Manica? You've been acting so strangely lately.
She got a baby. She got a baby. She got pregnant, bro. Let me chill. I don't know.
That chalva? It's my fault. I'm so sorry, Gorov.
Huh?
Manica ran back to her room. My grandma told me that she was just being moody, but it wasn't until a few years later that I fully understood what had happened that night. Want more something scary?
She was pregnant. Am I missing something? All right, next one we are reacting to is The Legend of Rawhead and Bloody Bones. I hope this one is good. The thumbnail look crazy. She got the drip on right now. Go ahead and get into this.
Karate Sapphire. Today's story is about an insatiable beast who steals livestock and people at night. If you have an appetite for these types of tales, then you'll love
See, this is why I don't. This is why you shouldn't do anything at night. All the weirdos come out at night. You'll see somebody walking down the street with no clothes on. Like, yo, what?
the latest Loot Fright, featuring loot from The Twilight Zone, The Fly, and other
All right, this was years ago, so obviously this is probably not a thing anymore. But let's go ahead and skip, because we do not watch sponsors.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? Rawhead and Bloody Bones.
The following is based on a true story from Lil Mama 85, whose great-grandfather encountered
Lil Ma 85. Did you say Lil Mama 85? Hey, I need me a little. Nah, let me stop.
an infamous creature in the Southwest. My great-grandfather lived until his 93rd year. And was sharp even near the end. He lived with me, my parents, and my siblings in the same house that he grew up in. Once the sun was about to set, my parents brought in some of our animals and boarded the windows and doors. They did this every night, ever since I could remember. I decided to ask my great-grandfather about this, and he proceeded to tell me the following story. In the 1930s, my great-grandfather had just been released from prison for making moonshine. And he needed a job to support his family. Luckily, a mining company had recently moved to town and was looking for employees. The new company was a little controversial. Some people didn't think the mountain should be disturbed, but others believed that finding coal was necessary and profitable. The mining company was looking for young men for the blasting crew. The job was incredibly dangerous. The crew would drop black powder or dynamite into the seams of the mountain to create a hole. They would then investigate the holes to look for seams of coal so that the company would know where to open the mines. The risk was high, but so was the pay, so my great-grandfather happily accepted his job offer. On his first day, my great-grandfather followed the crew as they blasted a hole in the mountain. It created a small opening, so Jim, the smallest of the crew, was tasked with going inside. They tied the rope to his waist, and he slowly and carefully crawled into the hole. My great-grandfather was holding and feeding him the rope at the other end. Jim descended further and further into the mountain, far enough that they could no longer see his light from the surface.
Let me turn my light off, bro. This is good.
Then the rope stopped. Hey, I think I just heard something growl. That's not possible, right? That's just the mountain settling. You're fine, said Bert, one of the older members
pull me
of the
up
crew.
immediately, bro.
Keep going. The rope began to move again, much slower this time. Oh my God, hold me up. It's gonna get me. Oh my God. You're fine, Jimmy. Wait, I think he's really in trouble, my great-grandfather said, and he began to pull the rope, but it was too heavy, like something was pulling from the other end.
Bro.
Jim's screams continued to echo from inside the mountain. The other crew members grabbed onto the rope and began pulling until they were launched backwards onto the ground. The rope was no longer heavy. They quickly reeled the rope in. There was nothing on the other end, just fresh blood. Bert stuck his head into the hole. Oh God, smells like rotting meat. He called out below. Jim? Jim, are you okay? Answer us.
Jim is dead,
A deep,
bro.
bellowing growl responded. Then the sound of digging, growing louder.
That's when
and
you
louder.
literally run.
Oh my God. Run! The crew began to run to the hill and make their way down to where they had parked their truck. Everyone except my great-grandfather.
What?
He just had to know what Bert saw.
Bro.
Just one look. One quick look. My great-grandfather said this was one of the biggest regrets in life. He saw something he could never unsee. Something that scared him so badly that he wet himself. Crawling out of this hole was something in the shape of a man, like a man that had been skinned and drenched in blood. It had massive horns on its head. He couldn't make anything
this
out
is
about
longer
its face,
than a
except
quick
the
look.
slits for eyes and razor-sharp teeth where its mouth was supposed to be. It let out a hellish scream, and my great-grandfather booked it back to the truck just as the men were pulling away. He barely made it. They got back to the mining office, screaming incoherent things at their boss. Okay, everyone, calm down. Now tell me what happened.
I'm pushing a cart down there.
In the mountain, something took him. It looked like the devil himself. Their boss stared at them, thinking carefully about what to do next. Okay, let's go. Take me there. The rest of the crew protested and cried. We'll go.
I just said the devil was coming out of that hole. You think I'm lying? He probably do. He looked like one of them dudes that think somebody just lying.
Go back under one condition, my great-grandfather said. We have a group of at least 10 armed men with us.
Yeah.
2 hours later,
And I want a
my
gun too.
great-grandfather, his boss, and the armed men were making their way back up that mountain trail. After an hour or so, they came to the spot where the crew had parked their truck the first time. They got out and climbed the small hill. At the top, my great-grandfather stopped and pointed to the hole. But now, there was a blood trail leading out of it. All of the men followed the trail into the nearby trees. The trail turned into a set of footprints, huge prints that were a cross between a bear's and an eagle's. And the prints were headed down the mountain towards the town.
It's one of them skinwalker
The men ran
things.
back to their
Turn
truck
into any
and
animal.
rushed back to their homes to warn their families of the beast on the loose. Families were instructed to board their windows and bring their livestock indoors. After that day, no one stayed outside at night. It became part of the routine. Bring as many animals as you can inside, board your windows and doors, and pray the beast doesn't get you. So, it's still out there? I asked.
Yeah, because I'm an idiot and I didn't move.
My grandfather nodded.
We should have left that mountain alone. We unleashed something terrible into the world that day. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself.
Don't forget to visit lootcrate.com/
Yeah, we not doing these sponsors. It's time to go to the next story.
Nigga.
The next one here is called The Cursed Pocket Watch. We already know who this is uploaded by, but I do want to say it's Snarled. Channel and video link in the description. Let's go.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? Before we head into our next story, make sure you're subscribed to Snarled and the bell
Bro, her like style is so like, I don't know, it's immaculate.
is turned on for notifications. This next chapter comes from Layla, whose life changed after she took a pocket watch from a haunted shack. Layla had always been somewhat of an outcast at school. Because of her thin frame and gaunt features, kids were afraid of her. But there were 4 girls in particular who loved to pick on her.
Oh my
Christina,
god, I
Emma,
hate bullies,
Jessica,
bro.
and Jasmine. They would call her Demon Girl. Freak. She looks like a witch. Careful, she might put a spell on you. When Layla told a teacher about this, the girls cornered her during lunch period and beat her up. Layla and her family had just moved to a new house. Unfortunately,
Look, I don't care if you a girl or like, and people shouldn't even have to do this in the first place, but like, you gotta lift and you gotta learn how to fight.
wasn't far enough for Layla to switch schools. But the move did excite her because there was a creepy graveyard nearby, and rumor had it that there was a black wooden hut where a witch lived. So one night, she decided to visit the hut alone. Led by nothing more than the light from her cell phone, she walked down the rocky path in the graveyard and stood before the small, cobweb-covered hut. There were no lights or sounds coming from inside. Layla reached for the door and pushed it open. Everything was covered in spider webs and dust. It looked like no one had stepped foot in there for decades. Layla walked around inside the small dark shack in fascination, but couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't completely alone. Then something caught her eye. On the table was a pocket watch. It was the only thing in the shack that wasn't completely covered in dust.
You gonna turn it to
It didn't look like
a
it worked
dancing
anymore,
skeleton.
though. It only had one hand, which pointed at 12. Still, Layla thought it was beautiful and interesting, so she put it in her pocket and went back home. The next morning, Layla got ready for school like every other day. But when she went downstairs to eat breakfast, her mom shot her a confused look. "Did you dye your hair?" "No." "Well, something's different." Layla ignored her mom's comment and ate her breakfast. When she went to the bathroom after her meal, she caught her reflection. Her mom was right. Her hair was darker. Her hair used to be a light brown, but now it was almost black. And over the next month, her hair got even darker and her skin even paler. Her eyes were almost black as well.
A dancing skeleton.
And then came the shadow. Every now and then in the corner of her eye, Layla would see someone watching her, but when she turned to look at it, it'd be gone. And every night she would dream that she was watching herself sleep. Like she was watching from someone else's
She got an alter ego.
view. One day at school, Layla was trying to get to her classroom without one of her bullies noticing, but failed. Christina headed straight for her and immediately began throwing...
Yo, I never got like bullying. Like, I get like, do really go out of their way to go mess with somebody every single day at school? Or is this just back then or wherever this story takes place? Because now is not doing that, bro.
Rude words in her face and shoving her. As Christina walked away to her next class, Layla muttered under her breath, "I wish you would be out of my life forever." She pulled out the pocket watch and rubbed the engravings. Looking at the watch always made her
she about to
feel
die.
calm. Layla was both relieved and surprised when none of the girls came near her the rest of the day. The next day, Christina didn't show up to school. Rumor had it that her parents had last minute decided to move back to Shanghai. What an amazing coincidence, Layla thought. She pulled out her pocket watch and noticed something odd. The cover was flipped open, and the hand was now pointing at 1.
Oh, she only got
next day,
12,
Jessica
like,
was in a
12
terrible car
times to
crash
do
on her
something.
way to school and ended up in a coma. Then Jasmine had gone missing. These girls had
What?
always given Layla trouble, but she never wished this on them. She threw the pocket watch in the trash, but it just reappeared in her pocket.
It's
Eventually,
bound to
anyone who
her.
had ever given Layla a hard time had something unpleasant happen
What
to
happens
them.
when it goes back to
The
12?
hands now pointed at 11. You're a demon, Layla. I don't know what you're doing, but it needs to stop.
I'ma get you
Do you
too.
understand? I have put up with you and your awful friends for years, and you dare to ask mercy of me? I wish you were dead. The next day, Emma was found in the woods near her home. She was devoured by a pack of wolves. When Layla heard the news, she knew things had gone way too far. She had to destroy that pocket watch. That night, she went back to the graveyard near her house, to the hut. She threw the watch back on the table and ran back home. And the very next day, Jessica awoke from her coma. Jasmine had been found and reunited with her family. Even Layla's hair and skin were returning to their original colors.
What about the ones that
The curse was
died?
broken, and things were back the way they were. Well, maybe not quite. Everyone at school was talking about how Layla somehow put a curse on those who wronged her, and no one dared mess with her again. A very
I'm keeping that watch. Everybody done.
special thank you to Layla for sharing this story with us. Like this video if it gave you the chills, and don't forget to subscribe.
I ain't getting no chills, but we still liking the video. Let's go ahead. We can do like 2 more.
Hi, audience. Welcome to Something Scary.
I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary?
Lady Blanca.
Lady Blanca. Blanca is white and Spanish. Hey, I know a little Spanish. Yeah.
The following is inspired by a true story from Hazel.
Need some water.
My parents split early in my life, when I was around 7 years old. Mom got to keep the house and us along with it. My mom blamed the divorce on my grandma.
What
was
grandma
from
do?
my father's side, and she absolutely despised us.
Uh.
We had to take her in as she got older, but she was never grateful. She would claim to feed me
Nah, cause see, that's not gonna work. Hey, you don't hate on me, and I'm keeping you alive. Don't let me pull that cord.
Oh my
and my
god.
sister, only to leave us hours without food. She was filthy and would make us clean up after her. Worst
Dang.
of all, she constantly chided my father for marrying my mom.
You marry such a
She would call us worthless, and she would tease me and my sister.
Did y'all hear that? Mary such a what?
marry such a
She would call.
marry such a
She would call
Hey, Grandma Green, bro. That's what I'm gonna call her. I'm gonna call her Grandma Green, bro.
her until we cried. Soon, it was enough for my mom, and Dad left. Thankfully, with Grandma along with
For
him.
real.
A few weeks after the divorce, my sister and I went to our backyard to play tag. It was a hot summer day, and our neighborhood was known for having stray cats. A couple of them would come by and lay under our house to seek shade from the powerful sun. Today was one of the hottest yet, but for some reason, no cats came to visit us. My sister and I went to the alley where most of the strays live, only to find the cats hissing in the direction of our house. Me and my sister tried to shrug it off as the weather, but something stopped my sister dead in her
Bad
tracks.
little cat. I'll kick
She
you.
turned to something peeking out behind the dumpster. She pointed in horror and shouted, "Sis, look, look! Oh, the poor thing." I strained my eyes. It looked like a weird red ball. Then I noticed the ears, the nose, and those bloodshot eyes. It was the head of a kitten. Someone had drilled a piece of bark straight through its skull. Its eyes remained permanently fixed in a state of terror. My sister went to pick it up, but I swatted her hand away, and we ran straight back to our house. There on the porch, it was the rest of the kitten. Fur crusty with dried blood, missing its head. The chest of the kitten had been opened up, and someone had forcefully replaced its intestines with hot, sizzling stones. We ran, screaming in fear, knowing that this was not an accident. A couple days
And why
go
is it
by,
on my
and me and my
house?
sister tried to distract each other from the gruesome incident by watching TV. We figured it was some thug's idea of a cruel joke. And we were too afraid to get my mom involved. Something
What you mean, thug?
jolted us from our show. A cat's painful cry from the basement. We ran downstairs as fast as we could to find another red furry clump, unmoving. This one had its heart pulled out of its chest.
Yo,
Those terror-struck eyes from the last kitten were missing.
y'all not gonna question how this is literally in your basement. There is somebody in your house that is doing this, bro. Somebody or something, bro.
In their place were 2 red pits. I thought the kittens would be the most of my worries. At least I could distract myself with sleep, or so I thought. Sometimes I would wake up not being able to move. I was paralyzed, and my sister couldn't help me. In fact, she was gone. In her place was a man with sharp red eyes. He would climb onto my chest, yelling, "I'll now never." Eventually, I'd lose my breath, and then I would wake up.
Stanky,
The
bro.
dreams
Better
were
get out
frequent.
my face.
I couldn't handle them anymore. I had to tell my mom. I woke up and walked over to her room, but she was crying. She told me she can't find anyone to buy our small house, and no apartment in the area will accept us. She apologized for making us feel trapped. I shook my head and tried to reassure her. She asked me why I was up so late. I finally broke down, explaining the kittens my sister and I found outside, and also about the scary man from my dreams.
Yeah, Mom,
My
what you
mom's
know
face
about
changed
this?
into a look of concern.
You was doing it,
This
huh?
wasn't coincidental. This was the work of black magic. Black magic is when one sells their soul to the devil to inherit the ability to curse people. Mom went into the other room and called someone who went by the name of Lady Blanca.
Bruh, it was Grandma. Bruh, I thought it's Grandma Green, bro. Grandma Green. You really green for that.
A half hour later, a woman showed up to our house. Her outfit was strange and a bit creepy, and her fearful expression scared me even more. If she's the black magic expert, what in our house could possibly be scaring her?
Listen to me carefully. Whatever is in this house can kill you.
She walked around the house.
Yeah.
I feel the
Almost
presence of a
everything
demon.
can kill you.
He takes the shape of a man with red eyes.
I told
ain't
her that I
scared.
always see him in my room during my nightmares. She nodded and ran to my room, yelling.
You must leave this family alone.
She flipped over my bed, shouting.
I see it! I see it!
Confused, we all looked at each other. She then started to jump on my floorboards, yelling.
I need a hammer, something to lift the boards, hurry!
My mom ran and gave her a hammer. She banged on the floor until a board popped up. Inside was a plain white box with Latin written on it. Lady Blanca read the Latin out loud.
Death.
She opened the box and we crowded around
Death?
to see what was inside. Bundled up in the bottom were the bones of a cat.
These cat bones are a curse. Someone sacrificed this mother and her newborn kittens.
I told you. Grandma Green, bro.
In order to invite that demon into your home, I will take them with me.
Lady Blanca left the house with the box. The next morning, my mother received a call. It was one of the apartment managers she applied to. It seems there was a mix-up with applications. I'm happy to inform you that we are going to take you and your family in. You can pick up your keys next Monday. I'm very sorry about the inconvenience, ma'am.
Grandma
Lady Blanca
Green, bro.
called a week after we got situated in our new apartment. Mom put her on speaker so we could hear that the disposal was a success and there would be no more demons haunting us. Lady Blanca, how could this have happened in the first place? Who would curse us?
Someone must have lived in that house previously. They must have had a comfortable life, having others take care of them, loading their issues onto other people in the house. However, this was not a good person. Whenever they left, they cursed the building to bring bad luck to anyone who lived there.
My mother froze and stared at us. I shared her look of shock and fear. The last person to leave this house was Grandma.
Grandma Green, bro.
Do you want more something scary?
Yeah.
You can listen to the extended version of this episode.
I do want more something scary. That's why we finna watch another video and skip this sponsor. Alright, this next one is called Till Death Do Us Part.
Happy New Year, Ottings. It's your Ate Sapphire. So, one of my New Year's resolutions is to make my health a top priority, which is why I'm excited that our first episode of 2019 is sponsored by Care Of.
Gonna go ahead and skip. Gonna go ahead and skip. And there we go.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? The Missing Ground.
The following story is a new take on an old urban legend. There once was a couple, Daniel and Melinda, who seemed to be over the moon in love. One of the things that brought them together was their competitive nature. They liked to push each other to be the best versions of themselves.
I need this, bro.
Of course, all the competitiveness was friendly and well-intentioned. It sometimes meant silly little games of tag here and there, or maybe some nights of hide and seek. They were both sort of adult children. After many years, they became engaged and were off to the races, competing with each other to see who could find the best venue for the best price. But there was one point of tension in their relationship. Daniel was incredibly jealous of Melinda's best friend from childhood, Angelica. He was convinced that this so-called friend was in love with his bride-to-be, and she would try and sabotage the wedding by any means possible. Melinda always had to reassure him that he was overthinking things and that there was nothing to worry about. You have no reason to feel this way. Angelica is my oldest friend. Just tell me this, Daniel asked. Did you ever have feelings for her? Melinda paused. Yes, I have. But it was years ago. Please, you have to understand.
Bump!
Daniel wasn't happy with this answer. You have to uninvite her. Are you crazy? She's in my bridal party. I can't uninvite her. I honestly don't know if I can handle seeing her there. It's our wedding day. It's supposed to be perfect. The couple stared at each other, both silently challenging the other to give in first. Melinda sighed. If that's what will make you happy, I'll talk to her. Months later, the day of the wedding arrived. The engaged couple had forgotten about their past arguments and were just happy that the day had come. Melinda ended up finding the best venue for the best price, her parents' large and lavish Victorian mansion. The ceremony was going to be held outside in the gorgeous gardens, and the reception would take place inside. The guests were filing in and finding their seats, while Melinda was hiding from sight near the end of the aisle. Suddenly, Daniel appeared next to her. Danny, you're not supposed to see me. She's here. Why is she here? You told me she wasn't going to come. Oh my God, she's sitting in the back. She's not in the bridal party anymore. You literally don't have to see or speak to her. Well, I did see her, and I just can't believe you'd do this to me.
Yeah.
Really? You're gonna do this right now? At this point, the couple's voices were rising, causing the guests to turn and look over at them. Hey, you know what will be fun? Why don't we play a game of hide and seek with all the guests? That always cheers you up. And afterwards, I can talk to Angelica again. Deal? Daniel exhaled. I'm so sorry. I know I'm being ridiculous. I know that. I know she's important to you, and it's not fair of me to act this way. I love you. I love you too. Now let's play. I'll be it. The guests are all informed of the game of hide and seek before the ceremony, and they willingly participate. Melinda closed her eyes and began counting backwards from 30, and everyone scattered to find a hiding spot. The property was huge, so there was plenty of space. Ready or not, here I come. Melinda grew up in this house and knew every nook and cranny, so she had no problem finding everyone. Except for one person, the groom. So all the other guests began to help Melinda look for him.
I don't know what a groom is, bro. I'm actually finna look that up. Feel like this dude's doing something sketchy. What is a groom in a wedding? The male partner in marriage. Bro, Angelica done off, dude. Angelica really got dude. Bro, she took him out of the game.
Melinda heard some people whispering that they thought Daniel might have gotten cold feet and ran away. After they searched the entire property, Melinda collapsed to the floor in tears. Angelica approached her. I know this isn't what you want to hear, but I think I saw Daniel running out the gates during the game.
Nah,
He could
did
be
something.
coming back, but I don't know. I'm so sorry, Mel. The wedding was clearly no longer happening, so the guests returned to their cars and headed home, while Angelica continued to comfort the bride. You're my best friend, and I will always be here for you. Remember? She held out her pinky finger. Together forever? The bride smiled, wiped the tears from her eyes, and hooked her pinky onto Angelica's and said, no matter whatever. Years went by. Angelica and Melinda became closer than ever. Memories of old crushes resulted in casual dates, which led to a surprisingly fast engagement. The wedding venue? Melinda's parents' Victorian mansion. Melinda's parents felt a little strange that their daughter would want to plan a wedding at their home again, but they just wanted her to be happy. So Angelica, Melinda, and her parents began to clean out the manor. Melinda went upstairs to see if she could find some tablecloths and decor to use for the wedding. That's when she noticed a door. It wasn't there when she was a kid. Mom, was this door always here? Melinda shouted down the stairs to her mom, who replied, oh, we added that room a couple years ago for extra storage. Melinda opened it to find a very messy and dusty room filled with boxes and furniture. In the middle of the room was a large antique trunk. There was a lock with the key still inside. Curious, she turned it and hoisted the heavy lid with both hands.
It's Daniel.
Immediately, a putrid stench seeped out through the open crack. As new air flew in, old air came out. She dropped the lid on the side and covered her nose. She peered inside, and her eyes went wide. The rotting corpse of a man, face stretched in anguish, lay battered and broken within the trunk. There were scratch marks.
She broke his
highlighted
face?
with dried blood on the inside of the lid. The man's skin was leathery and stiff, just like the suit that hung across his gray flesh. The dusty and rumpled suit of Daniel. Melinda heard footsteps behind her. She turned around to find Angelica in the doorway.
What is you doing?
Angie, you said you saw him leave the property.
She much bigger than her. You better truck her pancaked. That's what's happening to
He
you.
was in here, didn't you? Angelica continued to stare, face devoid of all emotion. Angie, did you do this? We made a promise, Mel, and I wasn't going to let anyone get in between us. Don't you remember? She held out her pinky.
And this is why I learned how to defend myself.
Together
Y'all got me
forever,
messed
no
up.
matter whatever. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to
Bump that. I'm beating the shit out of you. Well, guys. Looks like that was the end of that. You want to see more videos like this? You like videos like this? Go ahead, subscribe to the channel and like the video, share the video, all that. And I'll see y'all in the next video.